Okay, let's get this started. I believe we're live now, right? Like stream this thing, yeah, it's fine. All right. Now, gotta open this on my phone, right? Boop, boop. Okay. The issue is my headset broke, so don't really have a way of listening to my phone, so if the audio sounds weird or anything, I legit can't really do much about that. Okay. Yeah. So I'm probably going to have to rely on people telling me that the audio is weird or something, because I cannot do much about it. Make sure that's 4K, yep, and then do this, yeah. Boop. Okay. So where we last left off, we were getting confused and had a roadblock where I needed to make an account. I made that account, I downloaded the stuff, and I have all those things here. So we should be fine, right? Have wood texture for the table. And and also we couldn't figure out how to, or I couldn't figure out how to make this show up in the render properly. And I found out that that was actually because of this little thing here. So somehow, I don't know how, but at some point in time, I somehow managed to make the plate part of an animation somewhere, and that position, I guess, was logged at that point in time, and the render did not capture that point in time. So, yeah, and I need to get rid of that, and I forgot how to. I did that earlier. How did I do it again? Yeah, because this little dot, that's an issue here. Maybe animation? Yeah. So it was in here. So every other object does not have something within animation except this plate. So in order to do something about that, I needed to delete that. Also, hello, Shadow. Um, going back to doing 3D modeling here. And yeah, so now this should move when I go back to the layout, yeah. Move this here and a little lower, right? Okay. That's around here. That's about fine for now. And if I do a render now, oh, that is the wrong thing. Render here, render image. And yeah, now the plate actually moves with the camera. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I had to talk to a friend, and he's more familiar with Blender, and he helped me realize that. So still at the beginning, kinda. I'm at this point in time where, well, if we go into the video or like at the part of materials, I decided to go a little back because I noticed that I wasn't too far ahead and I was still stuck focusing on the plate where it's not moving with the render. But yeah, boop and boop. Yep, and renders right there. Give me this, pop that. Okay. Yeah, so now we shouldn't have any issues with the plate not moving with the render. And also, by the way, if the audio doesn't sound right, please let me know because I can't actually hear anything because I am not connected to my phone at the moment because I have to listen to the video. And my headset broke, so I can't listen to both at the same time. So I kind of have to rely on chat. Maybe someday you'll be able to render the ultimate life form. Hopefully, that is the goal, right? Yeah, so we've got this for now, and I think we can continue from a little earlier than where we left off, like over here, because we have the files now. And we figured out that issue, and we should be good to go in continuing this, yeah?
No shadows, there's no lighting, there's no
Yeah.
surface interaction or anything like that. This is fast for your computer to see. To create that pretty image that looks realistic with light calculations and everything, that
Okay.
is called a render. And you can do a render by either hitting F12 on your keyboard or
F12.
by going to render and then saying render image. And now that has taken a snapshot. The problem is it looks like not the view that we were looking at. So we're looking at this view. Why did we get a view up here? The reason is that Blender will always take the render from the camera view.
Yeah.
So remember that thing that's like way out in the middle of nowhere we haven't touched? It's taking the view from that camera. And you can look through the camera by hitting the camera view icon.
We can shift to move
so
this,
now that
right?
I'm here in this view, how do we move it close? How do we get it close to our thing? So there's a number of like traditional ways to bring a camera into like in Blender.
Yeah.
I'll actually show you the way I first learned to do this because it's actually just like natural to me. But then I'll show you the method that actually most people prefer.
Yeah, because I was reviewing the video before stream, so I'm not completely lost.
If you want to bring it in, like just zoom to the like straight forward, if you hit G and then middle mouse button, that will like kind of what's called dolly in and out, which can be very useful.
Oh, that's for
and then if I want to like tilt it,
that's fine.
I can like just hit rotate like that, or I can rotate along the Z axis, right? Because I know how to like turn the camera. So that was how I learned to use the camera and how a lot of people still like to do it. But a lot of new people prefer this because now in 5.0, it's actually just a button right here. If you click this button, now I can use the same controls that I used before to move the camera. Because if you don't have that checked, the moment you just like hit your middle mouse to like orbit somewhere else, it leaves the camera behind, okay? But when you're looking through the camera and you have this checked, now when I orbit around and I zoom and I do all the same controls as before, shift middle mouse, I can position the camera exactly where I want it, get it right there without having to worry. You just have to remember, don't then immediately orbit like you're going to go do something because the camera is still locked to your
Thinking you can learn about 4 hours?
Check it when you're done, and then the camera
maybe not, but this is the first step, you know?
And by the way,
this is me committing to learning Blender.
When you're working with like small objects, you often have to like change because Blender is like designed for like environment.
The end goal would be like making my own
this
character, I suppose.
So if you go to the
or at least
settings,
one major milestone,
then go to viewport display. I just changed the display of this. This has no bearing on the actual like final render. This is just how it displays in your viewport so that it's not so gigantic it's taking over everything. All right. The other way you can quickly look through the camera is numpad 0. So numpad 0 will take you in and out. All right. But now that I'm there, I can hit F12 and look at that. That is a different look. It's still gray.
Yeah, and he said this thing doesn't matter.
Are gray. But you can see there is shadow there. But check this out. We can do even more. So besides just shadow, like you might notice looking at the, by the way, you can bring back a render by hitting F11. I should also mention, by the way, the first time you do a render, I think the first time
got me into Blender,
if you just open Blender for the first time
art.
And you hit render, it'll have to do a bunch of like shader compilations.
I guess because it's free and I wanted to look into doing some 3D stuff because
we're using Eevee.
I guess one of my inspirations was from the
but this
shadow.
Some of that every time you
one of my inspirations was
create a new shader. It has to like
those fan animations for like.
Anyways, it's the first time.
Ocarina of Time. I think it was
for every render after that.
There was Major Link and
shadow here, but you'll notice like in here.
There's another one that starts with an R. I forget the name, but yeah.
In the real world, you would see
those
like
two.
bounce lighting from the end of the plate there. You would see like some crevice information. There would it'd be darker and things, and that is because by default there's an option that is turned off. So if you go to your render properties at the top there, this has all the information just pertaining to how something is going to be rendered. And by default, ray tracing is turned off, which I think is a mistake. I think they should change it to default on because so many people don't like Eevee, this rendering engine, because they think it just produces fake looking images. But when you turn on ray tracing, look at how much better that looks. By the way, if you want to compare renders, you can change to a new slot, and then you can do a render, another render, and then you've got the previous render and then the new render in slot 2, and then you can flip back by hitting J on your keyboard. And that's a way you can like quickly compare settings, which is very useful. But you can see with ray tracing turned on, this is off, turned on, we get bounce lighting. So there's some light that's hitting the plate there and it's bouncing up. We've got like more information in the crevices, and it just looks a lot more realistic than it did before.
Render image.
You also have reflections when I show you some material properties. So that is something you should have on all the time when you're using Eevee. By the way, there is another rendering engine called Cycles, and it is much more realistic. However, it is a lot more slower. It's honestly, I'm going to show you at the end a comparison between Cycles and Eevee, but it's actually negligible if you know the right settings for Eevee. So I'm going to keep it on Eevee for the rest, which is actually good because Eevee is actually pretty powerful at doing most things. It's just it's a game engine style, so it's a rasterized rendering engine, whereas Cycles is a path trace rendering engine.
Might be better to
much more computationally heavy, whereas Eevee is much more faster. So we're going to keep it on Eevee, and I'm going to show you how to get really great results with it. And then at the end, we're going to flip it to Cycles. So if you want to see that final result, you can get it. But we're not going to
so that sounds like it's going to be more in the rendering section at the end.
We'll actually need it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some materials, but first, you'll notice like it's kind of annoying to have to like render something, like go to render it every time you want to see an image like that. And thankfully, you don't have to, because in the top view here, these little icons, there is a mode here called render view mode. And this puts the render in real time.
Rendered.
Look at that. I don't have to hit the render to wait to see my result. I can see it in my viewport. So it used to be that like rendering engines were so slow.
The artifacting seems to have disappeared. That was an issue I was thinking about last time, but
you hit render and it would take hours to process something, and it didn't look anything as good as this, right? But now rendering is like, and computers are so fast that we can just have rendering running constantly whilst we are working, and it's usually not computationally heavy. So this is Eevee, which is the much faster one. Cycles would be a little slower, but still. Anyways, now that we're in render view mode, let's talk about materials. So let's start with the like most different material. Let's go with the icing. So looking at our icing
so
here, if I want to
we already went through the
change its overall appearance,
bun and the icing,
to my
but I didn't do anything with the mug. So that's probably what I want to do
and then
next.
I can just click on new material. And now I've got a
bunch of different
options
that.
here, okay? And these all do different things for the surface appearance. Like metallic will make it look like metal, right?
This is the reference I had.
Like how sharp the reflection looks. The base color, this is like the main one you want to change for almost every object.
I guess I could make it
the base color
a little
of the object.
gray.
So obviously, I can make that look
it's already
pink,
a little gray, but
like that. Let's pull in here a little bit closer, focus on that. So I can make it look nice and pink. The other thing is
I could adjust the color.
Like way too diffused. It's almost like a chalk
that's
looking
the
icing. But
reference I use for my little mug here.
More shiny. I don't want to go like too far because then it's like mirror reflection. I want to go like, you know, somewhere around 0.2. The great thing is we can really change these values at any point in the future. So when we add in other objects and there's different lighting setups, some of the settings can look a little off at that point.
I should be following along here too.
Very common to like once you've set up all your lighting and everything to like reevaluate your materials. But this is completely non-destructive. I can change these at any time.
Oh,
and now I could create some.
I just heard my
like I could say,
PC yelling at me to not do that.
Like a black, shiny, glossy ceramic mug. So, by the way, you'll notice I'm not going all the way to black. There's a kind of a unspoken, well, it's not unspoken, people speak it.
No.
You shouldn't go fully black or fully white, or like same with like.
No, I need to rewind here because I didn't see that step. Sorry.
Like reevaluate your materials, but this is completely non-destructive. I can change these.
So he was on the donut now,
and now
he's going to switch over to
some very simple materials. Like I could say, let's make this look black. Make it like
so he's just
black,
set it to
shiny,
new one.
Glossy ceramic mug. So, by the way, you'll notice I'm not going all the way to black. There's a kind of a unspoken.
Reduce the value here.
You shouldn't go fully black or fully white, or like same with like colors. You shouldn't go like 100% saturation on a color because things start to clip. It's maybe a little outdated as like now color management is getting so good. It knows actually how to handle saturated stuff and like dark things, but it's still like a general rule.
More orange.
You never want to go like fully black,
I suppose,
because things are never truly like the real black is Vanta black, right? which is like just this material, which is like scientifically created to like emit no reflection.
Yeah.
Simplifying it, but yeah. So like things will, even a black mug that looks really black to you is probably not entirely black. So it's still, there's going to be a little bit of lightness to it.
So don't
I'm just
be
adding that in there.
fully
the roughness, this is where I can make this. If I wanted this to look like a, you know, shiny ceramic mug, I could do something like that. These are just placeholders, by the way. I'm just using this as an example of how to create very simple materials. The plate here, let's go, yeah, make it just look a little bit shinier than by itself. And then the donut, let's go give it a, you know,
hold on, I want to see
by itself. And then the donut,
values for
let's go simple materials. The plate here,
1.5 and 1.5, that's fine. Roughness value, oh, okay. Let me focus on that. Can I do that? View selected, right? And I can move this over. Push this a little, move it over here. Then messing with the roughness a bit. Yeah, as we get more towards the right side, it turns a little blockier, I guess, and less shiny. But if we reduce that right there, I'll set it to 75 here. Boop. Okay, that's fine for shine, I suppose. And we can continue here.
Let's go, yeah, make it just look a little bit shinier than by itself. And then the donut, let's go give it a, you know, brownish, lightish color like that. Make it a little bit darker, like so. Another value, which is super important for something like icing and the donut, and it's really important for just two things, which is food.
I made mine a little rounder than his.
And it is that when light hits objects like this, they are mushy, right? They're made of like organic matter, and so light actually enters the object and it kind of scatters around inside it, and then it re-exits it. It's the reason why when you like look at your hand in front of a light or the sun or something, you can see the light shining through. You can even see your bones through your hand if it's a bright enough light. So it's called subsurface scattering, and that value is underneath here where it says subsurface. If you go down here, you want to turn the weight all the way up to 1, because this is not the intensity of it. This is just like, apparently this value is supposed to be 0 or 1. It shouldn't be somewhere in between.
Hold on a second.
To control how much of it is the scale, which is how far into the surface will the light penetrate. And then you can see here, you can increase this or decrease this, and you can see the light kind of getting to it.
Okay.
Now, by default, it looks red, which I also think is a mistake. It's very suitable for characters because characters need red because inside
it could be someone else's,
right? But for every other thing like food, it shouldn't be red. And confusingly, and I know there's a mathematical reason for this because of like how light and the physics of things, but like different wavelengths travel at different speeds, right? Inside the
interesting. Okay,
so that's how I understand it. So they've made the color of the subsurface R, G, and B separated here. So you can see we've got red as 1, then we've got green as 0.2, and then blue as 0.1. So essentially, I need to clear all those out and make them 1, which, here's a tip, you can drag over multiple values in Blender. So if you just click and drag down across something, and then you can just type in 1 and then hit enter, and it makes all of those 1. And then now I can, you know, tweak this. I can make this look a little bit more milky like that. But we can, you know, we can adjust those. I'll do the same thing for my donut here. Give it some subsurface, turn that up, and then I'll set this to 1. And then, yeah, let's just leave it at the default value. But you can see that that's with subsurface on. Actually, let me bring the camera in.
Wait, that was my phone.
All right.
It shouldn't be that loud.
Lock it, bring this in, and I'm going to do a before and after render. So this is how you can use these slots. So this is with subsurface on. Then I'll go to slot 2.
5,
and now I'm going to select this, and then I'll turn it off, and then I'll do another render. 13. And now hit J back and forth. So that's the difference that subsurface can make to something. You can see here where it's like fully dark, it's actually now the light is passing through it, and that's what gives something a milky kind of look. And it's, as I said, it's mostly true for things like food. You can see it. I take photos of it myself all the time when I'm out and about because I'm like, look at that subsurface, and my family think I'm weird. But I think it's cool. So anyways, there you go. So that's
12?
subsurface. All right. I'm gonna pull the camera out to here, and then let's add a table, because this has to be a table. We're gonna do the texturing in the next part, but let's add a table. Now, normally, if it was a table that you were
just a plane.
Make sure I turn that off while I orbit around. Yeah, if this was a large scene, right? Whatever, you would have to do like model an actual table.
Y.
If you know the camera is only going to be here, it doesn't matter about anything except
and
the
I want to align it with the mug, because I know that the mug is aligned properly.
Plane. That's it. That's our table.
All right.
I just have to scale it up a little bit. But this is our table. It's actually really common in 3D if you look at like breakdowns of 3D scenes in movies and stuff.
Probably fine.
Everything is fakery. They're just like buildings are cards. They're just like a plane with a texture slapped on it. Nothing is real. You know, when the camera moves, they might have to like model things properly, and people go like, "Oh, I have to model it now." But like if the camera's here, it doesn't matter. Just make it a plane.
Camera.
There you go. So that's
lock it.
A donut on a plate with a mug, and that, for somebody who has never used 3D before, that's an achievement. This is the kind of thing that, like, back in the 90s, you probably would have won like scholarships for and stuff if you could pull this off. This used to be insanely difficult. It is still pretty difficult because 3D is hard. But yeah, if you have if you're new at it, this should make you proud. You've pulled this off. If you want to save this, by the way, you can go image and then go save, and then you can just save an image. PNG,
I should save, huh?
You got all the options, JPEG, etc. However, if you want to make this look good in the next parts, we're going to be making this look much better by doing some texturing and making our table look good and adding some ceramic textures and things to different objects. But this is kind of the end of the modeling section of the donut tutorial. So we touched on, you know,
we're entering part 5 now.
We had slight deformations. We extruded some things to create like an organic looking shape, a little bit of sculpting. And then we created a mug, right? And then did some modifiers and subsurf.
My mug is a little scuffed because
so those are
when I was making the mug, I didn't realize that you had to be snapped to an axis.
Lots of different objects
so
in the future.
it's a little wonky if you can't tell already, but yeah. It's my first mug. It's fine.
Objects, how to keep straight lines. And then modeling something that is really custom and deformed, getting those like large-ish shapes, and just kind of like almost using the mesh like a guide mesh to kind of create shapes. And then
that's
characters, like sculpting a character from nothing, and then actually converting
sculpting is also something I want to look into as well.
And has like subdivision so that the arm can move, and then rigging that character so that you can actually move the arms like a puppet. So these are the kinds of techniques that we don't have time to go into.
Give us personality.
But I do have time to go into in my course called the Beginner's Academy. So all of these things you can see on the screen here are taught in that academy. If you only want to learn Blender for free and you just want to do this donut, that is fine. But if you want to go further and you want to learn how to actually think like a 3D artist and take an idea from your head and actually convert that into something that you can use, whether that be for 3D printing or for rendering or for whatever visualization purpose you have.
I think I said this last time, but I am going to stick with free for now.
To actually create something that you want to create. So if you're interested in that, the link for that is beneath this video. And it is designed for complete beginners who have finished the donut, but you've learned enough now that if you want to jump straight to that, you could. But if you want to continue on, we will jump into texturing next. I will see you in the next video.
Okay.
It's time to texture these bad boys.
Texturing,
finally, after hinting at it for so long. So we added some simple materials, and that is actually fine for some types of objects. Like you might actually have a plate and go like, it's just white plate. Doesn't need any texture, but most things need texture. So I'm going to select my table floor here. I'm going to go to the material panel right here. And I'm going to add a new material since it doesn't have one. And let's look at how
I think I just set mine to black for now as a placeholder.
Here where we've got base color. If we want to add a color texture, we just click on this little yellow dot next to it. I know that's not clear. It will become clear when I show you nodes. But when I click this, you get this slide out menu with a bunch of different options here. And the one that I'm looking for says image texture. Okay, so now I can hit open. And just to demonstrate this, I'm going to select a wood texture that I downloaded off the internet just to show you how this works. Now,
over here.
on this note, if you happen to see this, if you use an image texture that you find online, it's because there is a new feature.
Downloads.
There's a purpose. There's a new feature in Blender 5.0 where if it identifies in the name anything from the number 1000 to 2000, I think, it'll think that is a UDIM, which is a completely whole
a little
production,
funny looking,
professional workflow kind of thing. It'll think it's a UDIM, and anyways, what you need to do is then change this to single image. But most of the time, most images, if it doesn't have those numbers, a string at the end, it should just load in fine. Anyways, let's say you had an image like this. You wanted the table to look wood, right? We're not going to do that, but just to show you, you would see it's okay, right? But there is no bump information.
Roughness.
Okay. And that is because, of course, the 3D software doesn't know that there's supposed to be crevices here, right? Little dips in between the table, the fine tooth grain of it. It has no idea because it's just taken with a single camera. It would have no idea how to guess what that true information should be. I mean, there is technically a way to guess it, but it never really turns out well. So I'm not even going to bother showing you. So most of the time when you're talking about texturing in 3D and using image textures, like textures from the real world, you don't just grab a random image texture that you find online. You need to use PBR textures, which stands for physically based rendering textures. And there are many different places that you can get PBR textures from. The best website I think is Polygon, POLIIGON.com. The link is below. And I think it's the best website because it's my website.
Not downloaded, but
it's my company, which I created 10 years ago. And it is
this stuff here, I already downloaded the textures and made an account.
Online. So we've got photographers all over the world, and they use specialized equipment to go out into the world and they capture surfaces.
It should be all these.
Usually like photograph the surface like hundreds of times, which is what enables you to actually capture all of that height information, the bump, the shininess, reflectiveness of materials, and actually capture all of the maps that you can see here, for example. These weird looking maps is exactly what Blender needs to make the material look realistic. So we've got a bunch of different categories. Obviously, like almost anything you want to create, you can find the textures on here. But for just this tutorial, if you go to polygon.com/donut, the link for that is also below. But this has the 6 textures that you'll actually need to follow along for this video. They're all free. We've made them free. All you need to do is get a free account, and you can download all of those by just clicking them and then hitting download. And also, if you scroll down, we've got some premium textures here. If you have a subscription with us, that you could use for the cafe scene that we're making to kind of spruce it up, make it your own, add some variation there. So we've included some ones here that go well with the scene. And if you use this link, you'll get 10% off any plan you choose. So the first texture I want you to start with is going to be our cafe table, and obviously you could use any texture. You could use some of the ones down there if you wanted to, but I want you to start with this one, this concrete texture, because we're going to make this look like a concrete table, something that a lot of cafes can sometimes have. Now we actually have a Blender add-on which makes downloading and importing these things even simpler. But I want to give you the traditional way to import PBR textures first, so that you know how to use PBR textures just flat. And then I want to show you the easy way after.
Pottery,
so once you've got your free account, you can come back here and you can click on download. This big download button. So that'll give you an 8K texture. You probably don't need it. You could probably get by with 4, but I'm going to get the 8K just to show you how it looks. Now this will download a zip file like here. Okay, so it should be fairly quick. It's about 289 megs. Once you've downloaded this texture, I need you to unzip it. So with Windows, you just right click and go extract all. If you're on a Mac, you just double click it and it should just unzip itself. Now that I've got that, you can see you've got like a preview image there. We don't worry about that. It's the stuff that's in here. This is the good stuff. This is the one we actually need to use. So I'm going to just copy this folder location, and then back in Blender for my selected plane here underneath base color, I'm just going to just like before, select the image texture if you haven't already. Then I'm going to click open, And then a lot of these images look pretty similar. There's very little detail across them. There is some, but the one we're looking for is underscore base color. So that is the one we're going to start
now I need to rewind because I was not paying attention.
To import, this is the one we actually need to use. So
all right.
You just right click and go extract all. If you're on a Mac, you just double click it and it should just unzip itself. Now that I've got that, you can see you've got like a preview image there. We don't worry about that. It's the stuff that's in here. This is the good stuff. This is the one we actually need to use. So I'm going to just copy this folder location and then back in Blender for my selected plane here underneath base color. I'm just going to just like before, select image texture if you haven't already. Then I'm going to click open and then a lot of these images look.
Okay. So go into here, then copy that, right? Then go back into Blender, open. Wait, where is he going with this?
Pretty similar. There's very little detail across them. There is some, but the one we're looking for is underscore base color. So that is the one we're going to start with.
Okay.
Okay. So this has given us a nice, clean, delit concrete floor texture, but the same problem. We don't have that height information there. And that's because, just like before, we've only loaded in information into the base color. So it's almost like this has been printed on cardboard. That's kind of the appearance there. So we need to load
go back a little.
And that's okay. So what we're looking for is underscore base color. So that is the one we're going to start with. Okay, so this has given us a nice, clean, delit concrete floor texture.
So base color,
but the same problem, we don't have that.
Okay, now it's switched to
and that's
concrete.
because, just like before, we've only loaded in information into the base color. So it's almost like this has been printed on cardboard. That's kind of the appearance there. So we need to load in the other PBR texture maps, they're called, all of those different images that we downloaded. And we could import and do them the same way by like clicking this little dot and then go image texture, but it's very fiddly. And this view here, you can probably tell is like, it's not designed for like complex texturing work. If you want to do complex texturing work, you should click on the shading tab at the top of your screen. Now this view looks completely different. You've got a 3D view at the top. You've got these nodes here, which are very useful. And then you got two over here that I think are kind of pointless. I don't really think they should be here. I've never really wanted them. So I'm going to right click on the like the divider between these little windows here. I'm going to say join left, and then I'm going to do the same for the bottom, join left. And then I want to flip it because I don't really like having like the top view and this. It's like it's too widescreen to like look at things like this. So instead I'm going to right click this, say join down. And then at the top of my screen here, the top of the little divider there, until I get that little arrows, I'm going to right click and then I'm going to say vertical split. And then to make this one on the right-hand side, those same shader nodes that we had from before.
He's going
down
one step ahead
at the top of my screen here, the top of the little divider there, until I get that.
There. Okay. I don't seem to get that option. Okay. Is he in a specific view mode? Don't think so. No. Don't think I have that. Let's see.
Little arrows. I'm going to right click and then I'm going to say vertical split. And then to make this one on the right-hand side, those same shader nodes that...
Do I necessarily need that? Okay. Oh, okay. I can just do it there. And about here, right? Back here.
That we had from before. Click from this little drop down at the top. By the way, if you don't see it, you just have to like middle mouse, like grab and pull across, and you will get all the way to the end there. But yeah, if I click that and then go shader editor, then close this by hitting the N key. It's a lot of steps. But now I have my shader nodes. So the shader nodes.
Hold on, what do you do? I heard something.
But now, close this by hitting the N key. click that, and then
Okay.
go shader editor. Then close
Boop,
this by hitting
boop,
the N
boop,
key.
boop.
It's a lot of steps.
Okay.
But now I have my
So we've
shader
got
nodes.
this.
So the shader nodes over here, this is actually the same information as what we have in our material over here. For example, if
Okay.
I was to adjust this roughness, you can see that it's adjusting both of those values there. And
So
when we
I'll
added
zoom
in
in
this and
on
we
here.
clicked image texture, it was basically in the background adding in this node here, which loaded in the image texture. So this is it's a simplified view. If you want to do like small changes to a material, you use this panel here. If you want to do anything more complex than that, you use the shader nodes here. And it's pretty self-explanatory to understand how shader nodes work. It's like over here, this is your material output. It's the final material. And generally you have a shader, which is something like this, Principal BSDF.
Shader.
That is the shader that you use for like 99% of materials now. And then you just have a bunch of values. And then you can connect things into this to do different things. And I'm going to show you how we can like tweak this texture and do a bunch of stuff. But first, let's load in some of those PBR texture maps. By the way, if you're wondering, the view on the left-hand side of the screen here, why does this look different?
Something.
This is because,
if I
again,
reduce it
middle
to
mouse drag
that,
along the top there.
Then take that.
We talked about the 3D viewport. We talked about the
I think that makes it a little worse.
We didn't talk about
boop, boop.
This one, this is the material preview
it's about the same.
And it's literally designed for previewing materials because it loads in a like
fake to get it to
world view around it called an HDR, which you can actually swap out here so you can see different types of environments. But it's a way to like quickly visualize a material without having to like change a bunch of lighting to understand how the material is going to look, because materials look very different in different lighting setups. So it's actually a very useful mode, and it makes sense. It's called Material Preview. So let's load in another image. So I'm going to hit, I could hit Shift A, or I could just go Add at the top of the screen there. It's cool that Blender's hotkeys are the exact same ones everywhere. So Shift A is the same as Shift A over there, right? Add. And I'm going to go Texture, and I'm going to say Image Texture. Okay. And now it's just asking where you want to drop it. So I can just drop it anywhere. And I'm going to click Open. Then I'm going to navigate to that folder where all of the images are. And the first one I'm going to load in is this one called underscore purple. And it's, you can remember it as the normal map because it's normal to ask, why is that purple? That's how I remember it.
This better.
Then, yeah, just hit Open on that. And the place that you would put that, you could guess, is the normal input, that little purple input there on our shader there. So the way you connect something to something else is you just, where there's a point, you just click that point and you just drag out and connect it to another point, and then you release. And then it is connected. Now you can see that there is some bump information now, but you wouldn't know it, but this is actually the wrong, it's partly the way to connect something, but we need to do something else. First of all, you can see that
I see it here.
Whoops. We've gone from a yellow input to a purple input. Now it's okay to go from like yellow to gray because gray just means grayscale. So you can go from color information to gray information. That's fine. But normal is like vector information. Yeah, without getting technical, like the normal is the way the faces, like that invisible line of the faces. And this is like faking which direction each of those pixels has. But basically, we need to add something between here and here to convert this from color information into vector information. And we can do that by hitting Shift A to add again, and then going to Displacement in this drop down and clicking Normal Map. You can also, if you can't find it, you can go to the search bar and you can type in Normal Map as well. All right, once you've got this normal map, you then just need to drag it over that line until it lights up, and then you just want to do a single click and it will connect it. Okay, so now it is correctly connected, but still, it's just not quite right. There is a lot of steps to like manually connecting PBR texture maps, which is why I want to show you the fast way to do this after this. But I need to show you this because you might be using PBR texture maps from elsewhere or from like production files and stuff, and you need to know how to actually manually connect them. So when you're working with PBR texture maps, the only texture that should have the color space sRGB is your base color, okay? Every other map should have the color space set to non-color. And again, without getting technical, I keep saying that because these shaders are very technical. It basically it's converting it to linear space. So it's using that
linear space.
Or it's actually not doing any conversion. It's just saying like, let's use the raw values from that and just use it linear. Anyway. Other software sometimes call those utility maps, but Blender is non-color data. Okay, so now that we've got that, look, we've got bump across our concrete there.
Okay.
And if we went into the rendered view at the top there, you could see if I took my lamp at the top there, and then I brought this like way down to the plane there, you can see we get this like nice gritty shadows cast across the surface there. And this is how you make materials that look realistic. You can't get this information any other way than by very expensively capturing these surfaces. And I know that because I've seen the bills. I know how much it costs to capture surfaces like this. And it can be thousands. That's where we started. And over the years, we've got that price way, way down. But it's a very expensive capturing process. It's not easy to do. It's not fun. It's very boring to do. So unless you really want to go into that space, it's not something you want to try to do. Anyways, so that's the normal map, but there is another map which is useful. So I'm going to hit Shift A to add another map, and I'm going to say texture, and I'm looking for image texture. Okay. And then I'm going to click open on this. And this time I'm looking for the one with underscore roughness at the end of the name. Okay, and then just like before, I need to make sure my color space is set to non-color data. I missed which one he used. I'm looking for the one with underscore roughness at the end of the name. Okay. Okay, and then just like before, I need to make sure my color space is set to non-color data. And then finally, I want to drag this out to plug into my roughness input. Now, when you do that, you'll see that the material goes very, very dull. So it was like, you know, before when we set this to like shiny like this, when we connect this in here, it goes dull because concrete is dull. So this is actually like the correct value for concrete. We like calibrated it to make sure. So this is that. Now, it's very often that you actually want to customize something. Like, for example, cafe tables often have concrete that has been like buffed or like coated in some sort of gloss or something like that, or an epoxy. So it's totally fine to just want to have like the free control of the slider there and not use it. Like the maps are there if you need them, right? If you really want to go for something realistic, you would use them all, but sometimes you don't, and it's totally fine to just disconnect them. Now, the other maps here, by the way, if you're curious, this yellow one, ORM, we don't use that in Blender. That's used by game engines. Polygon provides it because we, serve all the different renderers and softwares out there. Displacement is a different method than normal map. We're actually going to use that on the donut. Metallic is if the material contains metal. That's the only time you would use that. And then the other one is occlusion map, an ambient occlusion map. That's if there's like deep crevices, like if it's like a pebble pathway or something like that. This is the actual like shadows that like collects inside of crevices. But we don't need that. Honestly, most of the time, these three maps, the base color, the normal map, and the roughness, that is like 90% of materials. And that's really all you need for those. I clicked on something else. But it is still very finicky to do this, right? Am I wrong? Like having to remember the color space and connect this and convert that. And like even just these three things was like 30 clicks. So that is why most people that are dealing with PBR textures don't want to have to do this. They want to use an add-on like the Polygon add-on. So at the top of the page on polygon.com/donut, you can click this link that says download Polygon add-on, or you can just go to /Blender. This will show you how to install it. If you don't want to read that, I'll show you how to do it right now. Unlike before, when you have your zip file, do not unzip it. Blender actually needs this zip in order to properly install it. So what you do is you drag out and you release the zip file from anywhere on the computer. Hold on a second. And then to /Blender. Click this link that says download Polygon add-on. Did I download this? Is the question. Blender downloads. No, I don't think so. Okay. That's perfectly fine. We can do that right now. So what I'm going to do is going to block the screen temporarily.
so I can just log in. Let me just make sure the stream catches up to that, and now I know that it is a black screen. Please. Okay, good. Now I can log in. Yep. All right, and I can do this button, right? Blender add-on. Download Blender add-on. Okay. So I've got that downloaded. And I no longer have to hide that, right? Boop, boop, and boop. Okay, so I downloaded from here, went into here. Well, let me go back to this thing.
Or you can just go to /Blender. This will show you how to install it. If you don't want to read that, I'll show you how to do it right now. Unlike before, when you have your zip file, do not unzip it. Blender actually needs this zip in order to properly install it. So what you do is you drag out and you release the zip file from anywhere on the computer, and then it will say, install this, because it'll recognize as an add-on, and then you say, yep, install it, and you say, okay. Now, if you go to Edit, Preferences, then go to Add-ons, you should see one there called Polygon at the top there, which means it has been successfully installed. If it didn't successfully install, maybe you're on a Mac and maybe it actually automatically unzipped itself, in which case you need to rezip it and then drag it over. But yeah, it should install if it is properly zipped. Now, once you have done that, in your 3D viewport over here, if you hit N, which brings up your properties,
thank you, I appreciate
you should see
that.
a tab there that says Polygon. Then, if you just like preference, do not unzip it. Blender actually needs this zip in order to properly install it. So what you do is you drag out and you release the zip file from anywhere on the computer, and then it will say, install this, because it'll recognize it as an add-on, and then you say, yep, install it, and you say, okay. Now, if you go to Edit, Preferences, then go to Add-ons, you should see one there called Polygon at the top.
Okay, let me check that real quick. Edit, Preferences, Add-ons. Boop. Yeah, there you go. Do have that now. And if I go back here,
which means it has been successfully installed. If it didn't successfully install, maybe you're on a Mac and maybe it actually automatically unzipped itself, in which case you need to rezip it and then drag it over. But yeah, it should install.
Being on Mac sounds like a pain.
Zipped. Now, once you have done that, in your 3D viewport over here, if you hit N, which brings up your properties, you should see a tab there that says Polygon. Then, if you just like one-click login, this will take you here, and then it will just say login confirmed. Go back into Blender, and you should see now we've got materials in a scroll bar, right? Which is pretty cool. And I can type in anything I want. Let's say sprinkles, because I know there's some sprinkles materials here, for example. But you can also browse by category, right? You can look at all the different ones. And importantly, this will actually download it. So one-click download like this, and then one-click apply. And look at this. All of this has been set up automatically. All of these are automatically set to non-color. We've got the exact, precise, correct use of every single map that is ready to go. But anyway, go back to my previous material here, and let's go to the free category. And then let's use another one. So this speckled glazed
those cost money then.
Plate.
Got it.
And by the way, you can like click the little drop down there if you want to see something online to get like a better picture for it. You can quickly view it that way. But this is the one we want to apply to our plate here. So with my plate selected, I need to first of all hit download. I've already done it, which is why I don't see it. But you hit download and it'll just save it to your folder, which is in your preferences. And then with an object selected, you should be able to hit apply. If you don't see the apply box, it means that you haven't got an object selected. So make sure one is selected in order to click that box. Okay, so we have correctly applied it. You can see all the nodes are there. It's the correct material. Why isn't it showing up on our object? Now, this isn't a fault of the texture or anything like that. This is to do with
Hold
texture
on.
mapping,
I
which
want to go
is
back to, because I didn't see import, right?
selected. But this is the one we want better. By the way, you can quickly view it that way. But this is the one we want to apply to our plate here. So with my plate selected, I need to apply to our plate.
Okay. So I have to have a plate selected, right? Apply that? Oh, okay. Does that mean... Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Got it. It does look different. Okay. That's not too bad.
Here. So with my plate selected, I need to first of all hit download. I've already done it, which is why I don't see it, but you hit download and it'll just save it to your folder, which is in your preferences. And then with an object selected, you should be able to hit apply. If you don't see the apply box, it means that you haven't got an object selected. So make sure one is selected in order to click that box. Okay, so we have correctly applied it. You can see all the nodes are there. It's the correct material. Why isn't it showing up on our object? Now, this isn't a fault of the texture or anything like that. This is to do with
maybe it was blind then.
which is the next
I
thing
suppose
to
it's
understand
not
when it
supposed
comes
to
to
be
textures. Is textures are 2D, right? 2D. And our
2D
objects
textures
are obviously 3D. So how do you apply a texture to an object? There are so many different ways. And the most common way is to use UV unwrapping, which is the default method, which is what it's actually looking for right now. You can see that's the texture coordinate that it's called in is UVs. And for something like a plate, this is the most simplest thing ever because it's just creating UVs. So in edit mode, so just tab and then select your entire mesh like that. Then hit U for unwrap, and then select unwrap angle based. And look, now the texture has been applied. So what did that actually do?
Hold on, what?
Because it's just creating UVs. So in edit mode, so just
edit mode, yeah.
And then select your...
Is this edit mode different from mine? Boop. Boop. I think it's a little different, honestly. Close this, right? Okay. Plate. And if I go into modifiers, did I need to apply these? Not allowed from edit mode. Okay. I go into here, tab, then apply them. Then go back into edit mode. I honestly don't know here. I'll undo that then. Yeah, okay. So go back to here.
Entire mesh like that. Then hit U for unwrap, and then select unwrap angle based. And look, now the texture has been applied. So what did that actually do? If you go to your UV editing tab at the top of your screen there, just click that, you will see, and let's focus, texture has been, and select unwrap angle based. And look, now the texture has been applied. So what did that actually do? If you go to your UV editing tab at the top of your screen there, just click that, you will see, and let's focus on our object, so number pad right there, and I'll just turn this off so we can see the mesh underneath it, and this one as well, and let's look at the wireframe. Okay, so when we UV unwrapped it, it basically took, I mean, in the case of something as flat as this, it just took a snapshot of it, and then it put a pad right there, and based. And look, now the texture, unwrap your entire mesh.
Still in shading here, right? Yeah.
like that. Then hit U for unwrap, and then select. So in edit mode, so just tab, and then select your entire mesh like that.
Oh, okay. So select all that. Then do U. Unwrap angle based. There we go. Okay, so I just need to select object. Okay, makes sense. All right, and back to this.
Boop. Then hit U for unwrap, and then select unwrap angle based. And look, now the texture has been applied. So what did that actually do? If you go to your UV editing tab at the top of your screen there, just click that, you will see, and let's focus on our object. Whoa. So number pad right there, and I'll just turn this off so we can see the mesh underneath it, and this one as well. And let's look at the wireframe. Okay, so when we UV unwrapped it, it basically took, I mean, in the case of something as flat as this, it just took a snapshot of it and then it put it into the 2D space over here. And from your drop down, you could actually change it to the color map and you could see where it's actually applied to on it. So if I select a point right here on the mesh, you can see which color map space over here. And from your drop down, you could actually change it to the color map and you could see where it's actually applied to on it. So if I select a point right here on the mesh, you can see which point is actually selected there. So it's right next to this little spot, and you can see there is this spot in the ceramic there, okay? And as if I was to select everything with A, and then if I was to hit R to rotate, you can see that the texture is being updated over there. In fact, if I turn off the overlay, you can see which point is actually selected. Base color. So if I select a point right here on the mesh, you can see which point is actually selected there. So it's right next to this little spot, and you can see there is this spot in the ceramic there, okay? And as if I was to select everything with A, and then if I was to hit R to rotate, you can see that the texture is being updated over there. In fact, if I turn off the overlay there just to see it more clearly, and then I turn on the thickness, right? Watch this. As I select everything in edit mode, I can move this around and the texture coordinates are updating in real time. Okay, I can also scale this by hitting S, and this is a really common thing you do because like often a mesh is a completely different size to the captured size of the object. In Polygon's case, for like detailed textures like this is a 30 by 30 centimeter texture, which is actually probably pretty perfect for a plate. Maybe a plate should be a little bit scaled in. It's like kind of funny so seeing a little bit bigger. How my plate turned out versus his. Very, very easy to do. Let's go back to layout over here. I'm going to select the icing now, and let's do one that's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to hit N to bring up the properties again. I'm going to scroll down. So this is in the textures free category. Scrolling down, and I'm looking for the strawberry pink glaze. Okay, so we got this strawberry pink. Oh wait, I didn't turn on the modifiers texture, right? And this was actually captured by much better. Pouring a bunch of icing into a pan. And then using a stereoscopic scanner to capture it from all dimensions so that you get this like really interesting, like that height information there, the little bumps of like the sugar crystals and stuff popping through. Pretty cool. Anyways, let's hit apply on that. Okay, you can see there is some little bumps of like the sugar crystals and stuff popping through. Pretty cool. Where to pull this one from? A bunch of, this was actually, okay. So I'm going to hit N to bring and let's do one that's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to hit N to bring up the properties again. I'm going to scroll down. So this is in the textures free category. Scrolling down, and I'm looking for the strawberry pink glaze. Okay, so we got this strawberry pink texture, right? And this was actually captured by literally pouring a bunch of icing into a pan. And then using a stereoscopic scanner to capture it from all dimensions so that you get this like really interesting, like that height information there, the little bumps of like the sugar crystals and stuff popping through. Pretty cool. Anyways, let's hit apply on that. Okay, you can see there is some texture on here, unlike the plate which came in like nothing. And the reason for that is that when you add in a torus, like certain primitives we added in a torus, it actually comes in with UV unwrapping already created. Okay, so with this one here, so it's already got some UVs, but all that extra work that we did at the bottom there, like extruding some things down, that's all been missed. All of the way that things have been shifted because now it's lumpy, all of that is missing as well. So it would help to actually UV unwrap this again and project these points in a way that actually matches the mesh. So the way to think about this is, what if this mesh was made of paper and we had to lay the paper flat over onto this texture on the left-hand side over here? Where would you place the cuts on the mesh in order to lay it flat? And in the case of something like this, where I would place the cuts would be essentially along the edge, right along here. Okay, so if I Alt-click along that edge there, that should select all the way around it. So do check that it goes all the way around it. If it doesn't, then this next step will come out a little bit funny. Anyways, now that I've selected that,
hold on, which mode was he on again?
This next way around it. So do Alt-click along that edge there. That should select along here. Okay, so if I
doesn't necessarily say which one, but
click along that edge there. I
think I'm in the right mode.
That should select all the way around it. So do check that it goes all the way around it. If it doesn't, then this next step will come out a little bit funny. Anyways,
it is already a little funny with that purple line here. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think it's fine. Probably,
I'm gonna
maybe.
Select Mark Seam. Okay, and now if I was to go back into Mark Seam, we're gonna hit Control E. And then I'm going to select Mark Seam. Okay. And now if I was to go back into wireframe mode here and then just turn off this selection, you should see that we've got a line here that is red. By the way, the one next to it that is purple, that is the one that has the crease, which we added when we used the solidify thing to make it cling to the donut a little bit better. So we've got this line that goes all the way around it, okay? And that has done a cut.
What the purple line
now, nothing has changed yet because we still haven't UV unwrapped it, and that's okay because we need to do one more right in the middle of our donut. If you just select like a random point on the inside of the donut there, then hit your focus key, tilde 3 or numpad period, then you should be able to get in nice and close to it. Now that I'm here, I'm going to do the same thing. So hold down Alt and then select this line here. And now I'm going to hit Control E and do another seam. Okay.
Okay, so
now
we're
that I've done
here.
That, select the same thing. So then you should be able to get in nice tilde 3 or numpad period. Then you should be able to get in nice and close to it. Now that I'm here, I'm going to do the same thing. So hold down Alt and then select this line here. And now I'm going to hit Control E and do another seam. Okay. Now that I've done that, select the entire mesh. And
let me go back a little as I attempt to do that. Oh.
And nice and close to it. Now that I'm here, I'm going to do the same thing. So hold down Alt and then select this line here. And now I'm going to hit Control E and do another seam. Okay. Now that I've done that, select the entire mesh. And just like before, to unwrap it, it's U. U to unwrap and unwrap angle based. Now watch what happens. Ready? Wow, that's taking a long time. I don't know why it took that long. I've never seen it stall like that before. Okay, anyway.
Where does he aim it?
In nice and close to it. Now that I'm here, I'm going to do the same thing. So hold down Alt and then select.
Okay, so this time he's on this one. I'm lost again. Where am I aiming at? Okay. Show me this again. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Now we go back to wireframe. Select about here, I believe. Alt click. That seems about right. Then Control E, mark seam. Okay. Then go back here.
This line here, and now I'm going to hit Control E and do another seam. Okay. Now that I've done that,
do I use centimeters and inches?
Just like before, to unwrap it, it's U. U to unwrap and unwrap angle.
You mean personally or? in this thing, because in this thing I'm not sure. I think it
Wow,
goes
that's
with
taking a long time. I don't know
centimeters.
why I took that long. I've never seen it stall like that before. Okay, anyways, but look, that is perfect. That's pretty well perfect app angle based. Now watch what happens. You to unwrap that, select Control E and do another seam. Okay. Now that I've done that, select the entire mesh, and just like before, to unwrap it, it's U. U to unwrap and unwrap angle based. Now watch what happens. Ready? Wow, that's taking a long time. I don't know why I took that long. I've never seen it stall like that before.
Select all.
Okay. Anyways, but look, that is perfect. That's pretty well perfect. I mean, there's probably a little bit of stretching there. There's always going to be stretching, PC guys. Crying. You'll never get it perfect, but as long as the stretching is minimal, like that is pretty well good. It's laid flat, like it looks almost like a cowhide rug, you know, like dead animal
personally
been stretched out. It looks like that, but like that's how it works.
I
right?
do go by inches,
now
but
if I go into material view, look at this now.
I have been taking physics classes, and it's making me want to get into using centimeters.
There. It's now been properly,
but personally is inches.
Stretched across it. It's been properly mapped, and so we've got the texture going all the way in there. Now the scale of this is probably wrong. So
how does it deselect that?
It looks like that, but like that's how it works, right? So now if I go into material view, look at this now. The dead animal that's been
I think it just
out.
taps that.
It looks like that, but like that's how it works, right? So now if I go into material view, look at this now. Cool. We no longer have, I mean, you couldn't really see it clearly before, but you no longer have the stretching that was happening there. It's now been properly stretched across it. It's been properly mapped, and so we've got the texture going all the way in there. Now the scale of this is probably wrong. So I like to change the scale here, and I want to see it over there. So I like to turn off my overlays at the top there. So you can just click that little box. That'll turn off everything, so you can't even see what's selected. And now I can just change the scale here, and I could make it bigger or smaller. But yeah, you can play with the size and try and get
it's a little overlapping.
But why does it look so pale and pink and like not as fun as it was before? Well, it's because when we added in that texture, right, when we clicked this, it overrid the material that we had before. So if you go back to your shading tab, you'll see we got all these textures. And for example, before we had a pink color that was in the base color. Now it's been overridden with the actual strawberry color, which was captured with the camera. However, that strawberry is a little paler than what I want. So I'm actually going to disconnect it because there's not actually that much information in color when it's something like this. All the information is in the bump. So we can really just get by with, actually we don't need metallic because there's definitely no metal in it. I'm going to keep the roughness. That's okay to keep because I just actually want to see that. Metallic. I'm going to disconnect this, which is the subsurface amount, because I want to control that myself as well. And I'm just going to leave the roughness and the normal, and that's it. Oh, I should explain how I was disconnecting those. So if you hold down Control and then right-click drag, that is how you can disconnect. You can also just click these points and then just disconnect like that. Okay. But I prefer to Control, right-click drag, and that'll cut it. Oh, Control, right-click. Okay. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to set these values to what I had before. You know, just playing it by eye. What pink color looks good? Set my subsurface amount, radius to 1. Okay. And then I'll change this scale value till it looks nice. But there you go. I've now got my fleshy pink donut. But I now have this lovely bubbly sugar crystals, real glaze going on the donut. All right, now let's do another fun one. Let's do the donut itself. Now this is an interesting one that I had my team do till it looks nice. But there you go. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to set these values to what I had before. You know, just playing it by eye. What pink color looks good? Set my subsurface amount, radius to 1. And then I'll change this scale value till it looks nice. But there you go. I've now got my fleshy pink donut. But I now have this lovely bubbly sugar crystals, real glaze going on the donut. All right, now let's do another fun one. Let's do the donut itself. Now this is an interesting one that I had my team do before we did. Before I started recording, I had them go out and scan a real donut, scan it all the way around, then map it to a torus, and then just get the extracted data. And because this has been already UV unwrapped. another fun one, crystals, real glaze. I now have got, and then can disconnect. You can also just click these points and then just disconnect like that. But I prefer to control, right click, drag, and that'll cut it.
Yeah, I just say in
Sever the
the
tie.
Smash Bros. Streams that
And now
I
that I'm
am
here, I'm
in
just going to set
NA.
these values to what I had
Yeah.
before. You know, just playing it by eye. What pink color looks good. Set my subsurface amount, radius to 1.
I am an American.
And then I'll change this scale value till it looks nice. But there you go. I've now got my fleshy pink donut.
1.5.
But I now have this lovely bubbly sugar crystals, real glaze going with the donut. All right, now let's do another fun one. Let's do the donut itself. Now this is an interesting one that I had my team do before I started recording. I had them go out and scan a real donut, scan it all the way around, then map it to a torus, and then just get the extracted data. And because this has been already UV unwrapped to map the exact square, just like what we just like what is captured for this type of map here. Now I can just apply this and it'll automatically do it. So let's do that. Hit apply, and that's pretty good. Like, that's nice color. We got nice bump there. If we bring back our icing, you can see that's already pretty good, right? But there is something else that we can do, because when I was talking about shading, you might remember I mentioned that there is 2 different ways of creating bumps, right? And the normal one, the purple one, that's the one we've been using thus far. But there's another one here which comes in disconnected, and it's the displacement map. Now, in the newer versions of the polygon add-on, like the next version that's coming out after this, you'll be able to, in this last use box here, you'll have an option that says displacement and displacement type. You can currently see it in cycles. So if you use that, you can change it. I was not paying attention. Again, that there is 2 different ways of just like what is captured for this type of map here. Now I can just apply this and it'll automatically do it. So let's do that. Hit apply, and that's pretty good. Like, that's nice color. We got nice bump there. If we bring back our icing, you can see that's already pretty good, right? But there is something else that we can do, because when I was talking about shading, you might remember I mentioned that there is 2 different ways of creating bumps, right? And the normal one, the purple one, that's the one we've been using thus far. But there's another one here which comes in disconnected, and it's the displacement map. Now, in the newer versions of the polygon add-on, like the next version that's coming out after this, you'll be able to, in this last use box here, you'll have an option that says displacement and displacement type. You can currently see it in cycles. Displacement type. So if you use that, you can change it here to displacement and bump. But because Eevee only just came with this feature to enable displacement, it's not yet there. Do you happen to be in Britain then? Ourselves. But essentially all it's doing is when you change that little drop down away from America, I grab all these things here, hit G to move them down, and then I sever this tie with the normal, and then I take my displacement. Don't put it in the norms that displacement aware. So if you use that, you can change the polygon add-on, like the next version that's coming out after this. You'll be able to, in this last use box here, you'll have an option that last used box. So he pressed something. What did he press? Now, in the newer versions of the polygon add-on, like the next version that's coming out after this, newer versions of the polygon add-on, like the next version how does it get that? That's coming out after this, you'll be able to, in this last use box here, you'll have an option that says displacement and displacement type. You can currently see it in cycles. So if you use that, you can change it here to displacement and okay. Okay. Setting that to the render, right? Cycles. PC doesn't like that. Understood. And here, right? Okay. That's a little funny.
I'm not even sure if you can hear my PC doing that, but it does not like that. Oh, so we apply it again, and then we find that. Displacement. Reuse material. Normal only. Oh, that is not what I meant to do. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Because
my PC does not like
just use that, you can change it here to displacement and bump. But because cycles...
Was that set to 1? Yes, it was. Okay, good.
So if you use that, you can change it here to displacement and bump. But because Eevee only just came with this feature to enable displacement, it's not yet there. So we would have to connect it ourselves. But essentially all it's doing is when you change that little drop down there, if I grab all these things here, hit G to move them down, and then I sever this tie with the normal.
Hold on.
But essentially all it's doing, so if you use that, you can change it here to displacement and bump. But because Eevee only just came with this feature to enable displacement,
Central Europe.
It's not yet there. So we would have to connect it
That is a really good connection.
But essentially all it's doing is when you change that little drop down there, if I grab all these things here, hit G to move them down, and then I sever this tie with the normal, and then I take my displacement. Don't put it in the normal input though, put it in the displacement output of the material here. And what this is doing now is, well, it's still a fake bump, but the other setting that it would enable is here in your material properties, right down here at the bottom where it says displacement, it would change that to displacement and bump. And now if I select my icing, it...
Okay, I need to rewind
grab
a bit.
all these things. But essentially all it's doing is when you change that little drop down there, if I grab all these things here, hit G to move them down, and then I sever this tie with the normal, and then I take my displacement. Don't put it in the normal input though, put it in the displacement
so it's
output of the material here. And what this is doing now is, well, it's still a fake bump, but the other setting that it would enable is here in your material properties, right down here at the bottom where it says displacement, it would change that to displacement and bump. And now if I select my icing, hit H to hide it, you can see that the mesh has changed, right? This is the underlying mesh. It's now kind of expanded. I am a little lost.
Hold on. Thickness, settings. I can collapse that. Settings. Displacement and bump. Dithered sphere. I don't remember what it changed.
And this is actually the captured data of the height, and it's being projected
you heard the PC
out
crying.
of the donut. But it can only use the actual data which is on the mesh, okay? So it currently looks kind of like chunky because there's not enough information. So if you go to your modifier panel here, and then what would we add to add more geometry?
Donut.
We would add in another subdivision surface. And now when we do that, if I increase this, you can see if I increase it 2, 3, 4 times in the viewport, you can see I get a lot more data come through. Okay, I think 3 is about it. I'm just gonna, I'll set render to 3 or 4. Yeah, I'll set it to 3. That should be fine. It comes in a little bit projected. If you want to change the scale of it, you can also do that here. I can change the scale from 0.2 to about a 0.15.
3.
Also, you should see how it looks with your icing. So I'm going to hit Alt-H. You can see it's actually clipping through it. So I'll select my donut again, and I'll change this scale here to about a 0.12, like that. And then, of course, the other value that this is missing is the subsurface scattering, because, again, we overrid the placeholder stuff that we had there before.
1.2?
So in here, I'm going to sever this connection, and then I'm going to set this to 1.
That's funny.
And then I'll just make this,
what did you do? I forgot.
Like that.
0.12. Got it. That was funny. Okay. Okay, much better. A little bit of clipping. Do I increase it? Decrease it. Okay. Oh. Okay. 05. 07. I think 05 is alright. 05. Yeah, seems fine.
And then, of course, the other value that this is missing is the subsurface scattering because, again, we overrid the placeholder stuff that we had there before. So in here, I'm going to sever this connection, and then I'm going to set this to 1, and then I'll just make this, whatever. And look, you can make this look like so buttery nice. Like, look at how soft and fluffy this donut looks.
Subsurface.
How cool is that? Like that.
Oh, done.
I set this to 1. We had there before is the subsurface scattering because, again, we overrid the placeholder stuff that we had there before. So in here, I'm going to sever this connection, and then I'm going to set this to 1, and then I'll just make this, whatever. And look, you can make this look like so buttery nice. Like, look at how soft and fluffy this donut looks.
1.
How cool is that? Like that. Bring it back. Look at that. We've got real icing with the real crystals. We've got real donut that has been captured and projected onto our torus. And that's just 2 materials.
Really like 0.1. Really cool.
The final object to texture is our mug, and I'm going to do that in the next part because we need to go much deeper into UV unwrapping and show how to unwrap a custom object. So join me in the next video.
Maybe just a little bit.
The time has come to UV unwrap and texture our mug. So we did.
I'm curious what he had for
to
his.
Go much to terraces. This donut looks. How cool is that? Like that. Bring it back. Look at that.
04. Okay, so I'm doing it a bit too high of a scale. 0.04. 0.05. That's fine. Okay. All right, I can close that. All right, then go back to here.
We've got real icing with the real crystals. We've got real donut that has been captured and projected onto our torus.
I might increase the donut one because where is that? I forgot scale here. 0.7. His does have a little bit of clipping, but I think it's reasonable. Yeah. Okay.
And that's just 2 materials, which is really cool. The final object to texture is our mug, and I'm going to do that in the next part because we need to go much deeper into UV unwrapping and show how to unwrap a custom object. So join me in the next video.
Okay. We reached part 6. I think I'm going to save that for next time. I can probably do it tomorrow. Okay. If you don't mind me asking, what do you do besides streaming? Playing Smash Bros. Recently it's just been attending tournaments, playing Smash Bros, and working on homework and stuff. And doing this on the side, pretty much. But I want to do this on stream so I can actually reference this for myself. And if anyone wants to actually look at it, they can follow along with me and hopefully not make the same mistakes as me. But, yeah, learning this on the side, playing Smash Bros, streaming a little bit on the side, or streaming both, I suppose, because get more people to hop in, fight new people, get more of a playstyle to focus on beating, more variety. Then I also play a bunch of other Zelda games and stuff, so school or college, and college, yeah. But yeah, I think this is good progress for today. So what I'm thinking is, since I'm not really tired, I could end the stream here, get myself some food so I'm not dying. I did eat before the stream though, which is good. then I think I can beat. I think I can boot up Smash Bros. This is a Wednesday, right? I think. Yeah, it is a Wednesday, so I can boot up Smash Bros. And do some Elite and fight people if they want, and I can continue from part 6 tomorrow, I believe, because I don't think I have anything else. I'm still in. Yeah. Okay. I still, from last time, I wanted to figure out what is happening with the, I don't know what this is called, like fuzzing, I guess, artifacting, one of the two, or something else entirely. But I wanted to figure that out. I was like, I'd probably wait till after the rendering section if it covers that. So we've made good progress. Speaking of progress, I should save this. Okay. That was a lot of steps. So it primarily functions, those steps primarily function based on his own proprietary stuff. And that may or may not apply to the next steps in what I want to do. So I may need to look back on this or reference another video for future reference in textures and stuff. Textures seems to be a separate topic from modeling, and this essentially goes on the surface of this. So, okay, what to do? Yeah, so we saved that. Our table is now made of concrete. Yeah. Save that. Messed with some UV stuff, messed with some shading. We fixed the plates, and now that if we go into rendering, let me close that for now. Render image. Yeah. So now the plate actually moves when I actually move it because it was stuck in an animation. That's so funny. Okay, so we've got that. We've saved everything. I think we're good to close out stream. May start upstream again, and I want to say 30 an hour, depending on. Let's actually check this real quick. Give me just 1 second. I can disconnect that now. So my phone is dying. Ooh, okay. Yeah. I'm trying to plan this out. Sorry. Okay. We could do a bit of Smash Bros. It's currently 12. When can we stop though? How long have we been going? I have not actually checked that. Boop. Boop. Okay. 1:30. That's actually not that long. I thought it was going to be longer. No, it's because I was messing with audio settings. Got it. Okay. So, yeah, since it's only just been an hour, we can start up a new stream and play Smash Bros. After I eat, which could take like an hour or so. Yeah, I'll set up a new stream. That's a promise. And I need to mark down that we ended at 2:35:42. 2:35:32. Wait, 42:32. 42. Yeah, I got that right. Okay, just mark that down, and for the sake of it, it is also in the description, but I'll also place it here. Boop. All right. So I've got that done. Okay, it's fine to close this out now. Boop. Save. Just in case. A bit stressful, but got it done. We're on to part 6 now for our next stream. And I'll see you then. Thank you very much for tuning in for this non-Smash stream, but I do appreciate the company. Thank you very much. And I'll see you in about an hour. And I realize I'm supposed to wait a bit for ending stream. So thank you very much for watching. And if you're also watching this in the future, thank you very much. And I'll see you on the next time we stream, which should be in about an hour. Okay. See